My life changed forever once I realized that the vast majority of the negative voices in my head weren't my own. Instead, they were echoes of voices from my past, echoes of voices from my parents or from my siblings or from my friends or from my teachers or from other people who had proximity to me and who told me things about myself that may or may not have been accurate, but regardless of whether they were accurate or not, they were negative, and they contributed to this narrative that kept playing over and over in my head throughout the years, a narrative that I eventually adopted as my own. If you think about it, we all come into this world as sort of a blank slate, which means that at least in the beginning, the vast majority of the opinions, the thoughts, the beliefs that we hold about ourselves didn't come from ourselves, but came from those around us. Now, this could be really good if the people around you are supportive, if the people around you are objective, if the people around you can, criticize you gently, but also support you and uplift you, right? Not to say that they sugarcoat your negative aspects, but they don't just focus on the negative, right? They don't just try to make you out to be like this horrible or irredeemable person, or they don't just put a flashlight on the negative aspects of you without also highlighting the positive aspects of you. This can be really bad if the people around you are pessimistic. It can be really bad if the people around you are negative themselves. It can be really bad if the people around you lack self-awareness, because what that does is it opens you up to being projected onto. And what I found is that a lot of the negative beliefs that I held about myself, right? A lot of the negative ideas that I held about myself, a lot of the negative self-talk in my mind weren't things that came from within me, but were rather ideas that were projected onto me by those in my environment. My mom used to often say that opinions are just like butts. Everyone has one and they all stink. While I don't agree that all opinions stink, I do think that all opinions are limited, right? Because they usually just come from one perspective, a very limited perspective. And when other people are telling us their opinions about us, we have to keep in mind that there's no way they can ever know us as well as we do, right? Because they're looking at us from the outside in, and they're kind of forming an opinion through a lens of their own experience. Whereas we kind of know ourselves from the inside out, right? We can kind of see every angle that led us to taking a specific action or having a specific behavior or saying a certain thing. So when you think about it that way, our own opinions about ourselves should always outweigh anyone else's opinion about us. Our words create our world, and that's why it's so important to not speak so negatively about ourselves, right? Because if you think about it, if you tell yourself that you're worthless, if you tell yourself that you're inadequate, if you tell yourself that you're stupid, if you tell yourself that you're unlovable, if you tell yourself that, you're not good enough for something or someone or whatever, then eventually you're going to start to believe it. And not only are you going to start to believe it, you're going to start to believe that the world sees you the exact same way, when that might not be the case at all. It kind of blows my mind how much easier it is to be kind to a stranger than it is to be kind to ourselves. This is something that I noticed in myself when I really started to become self-aware. Like, why is it so much easier for me to be kind to a stranger? Why is it so much easier for me to be nice to a stranger? Why is it so much easier for me to talk positively to a stranger, but to not speak positively to myself? And the reason it has to be, is because we believe that that stranger deserves kindness, and we believe that we ourselves don't deserve kindness. And again, I think this goes back to that narrative that we have in our head, right? Like, since we do know ourselves the best, right? Since we have seen the full spectrum of what's gotten us to where we currently are, I feel like this also makes us especially harsh critics about ourselves, right? So if you see a stranger, you really don't know anything about them. You really don't know anything about their story. You really don't know anything to judge outside of what you can see, with your eyes. And so I think it's a lot easier to look at that stranger and show them compassion, because you don't have this list of things of why they're unworthy that we kind of hold for ourselves, right? I feel like a lot of us have these lists that this internal tally of saying, well, because I did this thing, or because I did that thing, or because I failed at this thing, or because, this person rejected me, this is why I'm unworthy. This is why I don't deserve compassion or kindness. And then we look at a stranger and we don't see any of those things, right? We don't see that checklist. We just see this human being objectively, and we know that this human being objectively deserves kindness. This human being objectively deserves compassion just because they're a human being. And so my question for you and my question for me at the time was, why can't we take that same logic and apply it to ourselves, right? Like, yeah, we have this tally. Yeah, we have this list of all these reasons why we're no good and et cetera, why we deserve to call ourselves an idiot or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're a human being just like anyone else. And no one comes into this world with any sort of like instruction. Life doesn't come with a rule book. Life doesn't come with an instruction manual. Like, we're all just sort of figuring it out as we go. And if we can take that logic and apply it to a stranger, right? Like, they're a human being. They made a mistake. We can take that very same logic and apply it to ourselves. We're a human being. We made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. I definitely do. I'm sure that you do. I'm sure that the person that you admire the most or who you fantasize about as having this perfect life has made mistakes as well. Like, you can't look at social media and like compare yourself to that, because the vast majority of people just post their highlight reels. And like, not even on social media, just in conversation. The vast majority of people just want to talk about their wins. They don't want to talk about their losses. They don't want to talk about what they struggle with. They don't want to talk about this internal dialogue that they have with themselves as well that may not be as healthy as they make it appear to be on the outside. So it really makes no sense to compare ourselves to other people, or to say, well, because this person is good or they do good things, that they deserve compassion. And because we're bad and we've done bad things, we don't deserve compassion. Because in reality, regardless of how it looks, we're all capable of good and bad. And I'd argue that we've all done good and bad things. And despite having done bad things, we still deserve compassion. We still deserve kindness. We still deserve to treat ourselves with the same admiration, care, respect, and compassion that we'd show anyone else. And the reason why this is so important is because it will change our lives from the inside out, right? So many of us feel like we live in a hostile world. And I'm not going to sit here and say the world can't be hostile, but the world can also be absolutely beautiful. And what I found is that when I removed the hostility from within myself, when I kind of quieted the hostile voice inside my mind, the world appeared a lot less hostile as well, right? Because again, we all experience life from the inside out. We don't experience life from the outside in. And so if we can start within, if we can start by making our inner environment a kinder space, a more accommodating space, a more healthy space, a more comfortable space for us to exist in, then we'll see that the world is also a less hostile space, a more comfortable space, a more inviting space, a space where there's not as much negativity as this negative dialogue in our mind would have us believe. At the end of the day, life is hard enough, so why make it even harder by speaking to yourself with negativity? I do think a lot of us struggle to find a friend out in the world who can support us, but we can always support ourselves, right? We can always be our own best friend. And even if you don't have the best relationship with yourself right now, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to say, you know what? I love myself. I care about myself. I don't want myself to hurt. I don't want to be another enemy in the world, right? I don't want to be another obstacle in the world for myself. So even if no one else in the world can show me kindness, even if no one else in the world can show me compassion, even if no one else in the world can love me, right? I'm going to love myself. I'm going to show myself compassion. I'm going to show myself kindness. I'm going to speak to myself as if I'm someone that I respect, as if I'm someone beautiful, as if I'm someone special, as if I'm someone important, as if I'm someone who has feelings. So many of us grew up in environments where our parents didn't really set the foundation for having kind talks with ourselves. But it's never too late to reparent yourself. It's never too late to be the parent that you wish you had growing up. And a great way to start doing that is by speaking to yourself, speaking to your inner child with kindness, consideration, and compassion. By not calling yourself stupid, by not calling yourself ugly, by not calling yourself worthless, but actually understanding that just as a human being, you have inherent worth. Just as a human being, you deserve respect. And you have to give yourself that respect first before you can expect it from anyone else. So my name is Michael Sinclair. I'm a growth guide. Just want to hop on here real quick and get this message out. If this sort of thing resonates with you, I invite you to stick around because more of it's on the way. But even if not, I really hope that this message landed with you. I hope it served you. I hope you got something out of it. And until we meet again, peace.